Welcome back, friends. In this episode, we're going to wrap up our 14-day tour of Cambodia.
We've got a little bit of everything in this one, including for my friend Hudson, who recently turned 6. Belated happy birthday, Hudson. Hudson, you're going to find out, did I eat a rat? We've been talking about it. Stick around and find out. We'll start by putting up a little map for you, as we often do. Here's our stops as we finish out our time here in Cambodia. And one of our first activities for this episode was a bike ride with our group tour around Koh Rong Island.
This is an island, a fairly large island in the Mekong Delta. It's a large farming community, so we saw like some kind of fields. We got to stop and try some fruit. We saw people playing volleyball. We stopped in at a guy that gets commissioned to make baskets. He does a pretty amazing job. So it was just kind of a cool tour, touring around.
Had some signs up and some big lights on the beach as we were getting very close to New Year's. And then the big finale was to cross the Mekong River on the famous bamboo bridge. Now they build this every year when the water gets low enough during dry season, and then take it all apart again before wet season hits. This used to be the only way to get on and off the island, including with your livestock, including with your vehicles. They just got a concrete bridge about 5 years ago, but they still rebuilt this one, and it was still fun to head across this at the tail end of our bike tour. Several other stops were what I would call where does this come from type stops, where they were quite educational, everything from salt and pepper to silk. And so one of those first stops was near Siem Reap, where we went to the Anchor Silk Farm and learned all about where silk comes from. They had a grove of mulberry trees, which is the one tree, the leaves that the silkworms eat. And we saw them spinning their cocoons, and then how those cocoons are harvested, spun into silk thread, how that thread is then woven into really fancy silk products here. They do all that here at the silk farm. So that was quite an interesting tour.
Another couple interesting spots were in Kampot, where we first learned about how they mine salt. They kind of have these channels that come in from the sea, and they come into these beds that they've made. The water comes in and then settles and evaporates, and you're left with salt, where they can collect all the salts in these kind of wicker baskets, and then they bag the salt for export. It's quite a process, and they get a lot of salt from this. I can't remember the statistic on that.
Like 1 or 2 tons from one of these little beds each year. It was crazy. This is our tour guide we had for the day, Slash from Guns N' Roses, and here they are bagging up the last of last year's salt harvest and getting ready for this year's.
It's about 5,000 hectares.
Next stop on this same tour was actually a pepper farm. And now Kampot pepper is known worldwide. It's actually got like a food kind of designation, just like champagne, so that if you label something Kampot pepper, it is supposedly have only been in that region called Kampot of Cambodia. And I didn't know so much about pepper. And this was a really informative tour. It told us all about kind of how the pepper actually enhances flavor of your food, and the white pepper, where you can't really taste the pepper taste, but you still get that enhancement, and then black pepper, of course, and they also have red pepper, and they have fresh green pepper at this farm as well. You need to eat the fresh pepper right away. It's not packaged kind of for resale like black pepper would be.
I didn't even know what a pepper plant looked like, so they showed us the towers that they grow them on. And one of those classic dishes you have with the fresh green pepper is crab. We were at the seaside at this point in Kampot. Here's Slash again showing us one of the crabs that we were going to have here for lunch, a delicious crab and green pepper dish, which is kind of a signature dish of the area. Now, speaking of tasty treats, early on in our tour, we had an opportunity to sample rat. And this was at a little roadside barbecue stand Now, these are not the super smart, talented African poached rats that we showed you last episode. I don't know if I could eat rat again after having met them and sort of making friends with those rats. These were the rats from those rice fields that are such a nuisance. These are country organic rats. And what did you think of the taste?
Actually, it was really good. It just tastes like barbecued meat, a bit like a barbecued chicken, and also everybody in Cambodia loves it. It's very popular, it's very common, and most people really enjoy it, and they kind of cook it all over the place.
I enjoyed it. I'd have it again. And another morning, this was kind of mid-morning, it was a little early for a snack even, but we pulled over and had the opportunity to sample tarantula. And these were deep fried, fairly tender, fairly tasty.
All right, it's 9:30 a.m. A little early for a snack, but here we go. Oh, good. Go on, try it. Go.
We spent New Year's on Koh Rong Island. This was kind of a highlight for us. This is one of the reasons we did the tours. We thought it'd be really cool to be on the beach for New Year's Eve. And we had heard from another friend, a fellow traveler, that they really like Koh Rong Island. It's not that developed yet. It's still a little kind of small and not big hotels, so super, super nice. The road to get there from Kampot was a little rough and a little slow. I think we got some shots of that. And just in general on the tour, there was quite a bit of time in the bus, but I think that's the best way to kind of get around and see everything in Cambodia. So you kind of have to do that if you really want to see a lot of the country and not just the couple highlights. And what were your highlights of New Year's Eve?
Well, we had cashed in all of our free beer tabs, so we had a big stack of beer with us, and then we also discovered beer towers for a really nice price there on the beach, so we get into those, and then some surprise fireworks as well. I wasn't even expecting that. So here's a few more shots of ringing in the new year on the beach at Koh Rong. From the beach, we rolled back to Phnom Penh, the capital city, and it was time to wrap up our tour, which we did with a quick cyclo tour around the city. These are nice little chariot bicycles. We've had a conversation about, should we buy one and who would pedal and who would get to sit in the front seat. We haven't resolved that yet.
And these cyclos are actually kind of a throwback to the days when Cambodia was a French colony, and this was kind of brought in by the French, and it was often a way to get around the city in that era.
Yeah, it was a nice, comfortable ride.
It was kind of neat.
What were your overall thoughts on Cambodia?
I really like Cambodia. I thought it was a great place. The people were great. It's not very touristy. I think they haven't really rebounded after COVID-19, like say places like Thailand have. And I'd say there's a lot to see, and it's very safe, but it's also kind of more real. Like you're more engaged with the locals. There's lots of culture activities to do. It's definitely someplace I'd go back to.
I'm glad we did the longer tour. You could go there and just see the killing fields and the prison like we did in the first episode, as well as Angkor Wat is a huge draw. But I did, even though it was some time in the van, I did enjoy the other stops we did, especially the beach at Koh Rong was really nice. So it was a great couple of weeks here. Thanks so much to our fellow travelers in our G Adventures tour group. They were a lot of fun. They always make it a fun trip. And the same with our tour guide, Rata, a fantastic host. Thank you for sharing your country with us. It was a real blast. I really enjoyed Cambodia. And with that, it was time to wrap it up for Cambodia. Where to next?
Next up, we're heading back to Thailand. We both really enjoyed northern Thailand, so we wanted to check out southern Thailand, see what all that was about, see what the beaches are like, and enjoy some relaxation time after our tour.
As usual, we've booked a spare bed just for you. Come back soon. We'll see you in southern Thailand.